Whoa, let's learn stuff.
Let's learn about pricing strategy.
And then the last item I want to talk about is legal concerns. So, one of the things is price fixing. So, this is when two or more companies conspire to, they agree to make something the same price, which goes against the whole idea of market pricing, like what the demand for that should be what sets that instead of companies. And if you do a quick search on price fixing, you're going to see a lot of examples of that. So, for example, Apple and Amazon, at one point, they were battling it out when it came to textbook or not textbook, online books, ebook pricing. Yeah, there was, if you look it up, there's something. It was interesting. That was probably 10 or so years ago at this point. And then there's deceptive pricing practices. So this is the part that I've always found interesting. And this is what I mean when I say, like, marketing people, they can't play those mind tricks on me because I know what they're trying to do, especially when it comes to trying to manipulate me into buying something based on the pricing. So there's the bait and switch. So I know I read this in our textbook. So this is when you see an advertisement for a cheap product, so you go there, but then when you go there, they're like, "Oh, sorry, we're sold out, but we have this more expensive, upgrade of this product." So that's an example of bait and switch where you bait them into thinking, yeah, they can buy that cheaper one, but in the end, it's actually not accessible. That you might be pressured into buying something more expensive. And then there's drip pricing. So this is when something is offered really cheap, right? But then really at that cheap price, it's so basic that you pretty much have to add stuff to make it even something you want. So, for example, like, just a random weird exercise, like say you wanted to stay at a hotel and it was really cheap, like $10 a night. Well, if you want to have a bed, maybe that's an extra $5, or if you want to have soap, that's another $5, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you started off cheap, but by the time it's actually something you want to buy, you've added on all these things because you have to pay for it. So that's considered deceptive there. And then don't get me wrong, like this time limited offer. Yeah, there's, especially during the holidays. I mean, there's, with everybody else wanting to buy the same thing. Yeah, sure. There's going to be times where it is a legitimate offer, but in many cases, time limited offers are fake, right? Like they tell you, oh, this is only good for so long, so you should buy it now. But in the end, that's not the case, right? For example, one example I talked about in a video, I'm pretty sure it's this class. A year or two ago, I was looking for a printer, and at that time, we were still recovering from that whole shortage thing that happened with the pandemic, and so I needed a printer, but it was really hard to find one. There was just a shortage everywhere, and many places online were saying, "Buy now, there's only one left." Well, it was really expensive, and so I didn't buy it. But when I went back a month later, they were still saying the same story, like, "Buy now, there's only one left." Well, it was that same printer, but how could, they've only had one left for a whole month. So that kind of stuff, they try to kind of make you think like, "Oh, I'm gonna lose out if I don't buy now." And then there's also price gouging, where places raise prices because they take advantage of an emergency or just an extreme situation. So, for example, in places where we just had the hurricane, right, there might be places that price things up, like gasoline, for example, like maybe $10 a gallon because they're taking advantage of a natural disaster. And then there's last item I want to talk about, because it's 7:30, is false free trials, right? Where they tell you try it out for this long, but they actually make it so hard to cancel that it might as well not be a free trial.